Hola and welcome. So, this conversation is all about the rebel women of the Bible, including Jezebel, our number one favorite rebel woman of the Bible, Queen Vashti. We're going to talk Lilith. We're going to talk the five daughters of Zelophehad. Oh, we have got delicious rebel women of the Bible. And who's with me? The incredible Ministar Ashley. As you can see in all her regal attire, that she is an absolute goddess and an author and a creatrix and the founder of the Biblical Ritual Company. So, Ashley, do you want to introduce yourself while we have this delicious conversation? Welcome.
You gave me a wonderful introduction. Hello, everyone. I am Ministar Ashley. And when I pronounce MiniStar, it was like a play on words, like minister, but a mini star. Yeah, so that's pretty much, you gave me a perfect introduction. I am an author, I'm a biblical researcher. I love to decode the Bible using symbolism, ancient history, all of that juiciness. I'm so excited about this conversation that we're going to dive into.
We love that. And you know what's really, really good about this discussion, this conversation, is that people think Jezebel is evil, and we are here to dismiss that, deconstruct that idea, and completely disintegrate it, completely dissolve it. Why? Because they're looking at the Bible through the lens of Christianity. Christianity tells you what to think about the Bible. Christianity gave you all your opinions about the Bible if you have been in Christianity. Christianity told you this is what you need to think of Jezebel. She's a rebellious woman. Christianity told you this is what you need to think of this person, that person, and the other person. If you read the Bible without any of those filters, which is hard to do, especially if you've been in Christianity for many years, you will find that the Bible is not giving any opinions about anyone. The Bible has no inherent meaning. The Bible is simply a reporter. It's telling you this one said this, and then this one said that, and then that one said that, and then that one said that. And when we use the word Bible, we're even going to go a little more expanded in our conversation, because when we talk about the Bible, what I refer to, and Minister Ashley can share with you what she's referring to, I am not only talking about the 66 canonized Bible books that are in our modern canon. I am talking about the Apocrypha, Pseudepigrapha, ancient writings, many, many, many more. I have a much more expanded um, idea of the Bible, I think, Minister Ashley, than a lot of people do. A lot of
Mhm,
people go to church
mhm,
and they get the 66 books of the Bible, and
mhm.
Christianity fed you what to think about it. We're going to dispel all of that. Minister Ashley, what are your thoughts on that?
I totally agree with you. I do recall hearing a lot of these stories in Bible studies, in church sermons, and I'm like, hold up, that's not fair. That's not right. And they gave us the idea that Jezebel was evil, that Vashti was rebellious. Yes, and rebellion is not wrong.
That's
If it
right.
wasn't for rebellion, a lot of people would still be in captivity, including women. So it's about that time. We are in 2025, the year of nine, the year of the divine feminine. And it's time for us to stand up and break free of these mental and physical and psychological bounds.
I love that. I love that. So, who are we getting started with? Are we going to start with Eve and Lilith? Are we starting there? Where do you want to start?
Let me see here. I have a couple notes. Of course, you know
Yes.
how I am. I think
Yes.
I will start with Vashti.
Oh, we want to start with Queen Vashti.
Yes, Queen Vashti. And actually, I was sharing with you before we came on that my oldest daughter, her name is Vashti. I named her after the Queen Vashti.
I love this queen. Do tell us the story. I love this queen. As a matter of fact, did you know that one of our initiated high priestesses in the Temple of Maat is named after this queen as well?
Oh, wow.
Yes. Oh, yes. This queen is powerful. But church
Okay.
told you she's rebellious.
Mm,
But you
right?
might want to change your mind about that. Talk about her.
Yeah, and actually, rebellion, once again, it's not a bad thing. Sometimes people
Mhm.
like to use the word rebellion as like, oh, it's the most evilest thing to be rebellious, but it's a natural characteristic within us all. And so sometimes we have to tap into these energies in order to break free, the break free. Okay, so Queen Vashti, everybody knows about Queen Esther. They're like, oh my gosh, Queen Esther, oh, she's so beautiful. She won the king over with her obedience. And they would compare Queen Esther to Queen Vashti. Queen Vashti's so evil. She's so rebellious. And even in my church days, I was like, well, I mean, why is she so demonized? She didn't want to have herself exposed. So pretty much in the story, the king was having like a feast, and Queen Vashti, actually her name, one of the meanings of her name means beautiful. So she was known for her beauty. She was hosting her own feast with all of the women, but she was called from her feast, from her gathering, to entertain the king in his court. He wanted her to unrobe herself, to show off her beauty, to show how beautiful she was. So that way people could look at, well, the men can look at him like, wow, you got such a beautiful wife. It makes him look better, right? We have a trophy wife. When you have a beautiful wife, um, men like that. They like to have something to make them look good. So that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to, beef himself up by using her as a tool, by objectifying her. But she was like, no, no, I will not have that. So some traditions either has her as being executed or either just ostracized. But we don't really know exactly what happened to her. I have some water real quick. So,
I more think that she left because the way the Bible puts it, we don't really know exactly what occurred with her. What I love about her story is something we know about ancient women and women forever and ever and ever. We have always had our own conclaves. While the men were doing things, we were in the red tent, we were taking care of womanly things. We were doing incredible things in our own conclave, and that we always had our conclaves, right? Our places where we gather and talk what we talk and do what we do, and then we go out and we influence the wider world, right? And I love that she and her court, all of her women, they were all gathered at her feast, and the king is over there having his feast. But all these dudes get drunk, and he's like, "Wait a minute, I got to show you how beautiful the queen is." And he's like, bring her, and drop your robes." Like, I don't think so. For you and your drunk friends, I don't think so. And so, even an act of dignity, self respect, and sovereignty, quote unquote, the church made that. I don't see anywhere in the Bible where the Bible called her evil for that.
mm,
Church
yeah.
said she's a problem.
Yeah, but this is the one thing I think of. Like, he wanted her to derobe herself, to expose her nudity. But one of the things that the church teaches is about modesty. Like, oh, you need to cover up. But yet they want to demonize this woman that does not, that, wants to stay covered, that wants to, shield herself from prying eyes. So I'm like, it's like a contradiction.
That's a very interesting contradiction that I never considered. And you know what else it's making me think of? It's making me think of the Islamic stance where the women are completely robed and covered, right, from head to toe, and that they only disrobe for their husband. So that concept was also violated here if we look at it, because this man, it see in church, I never really heard them say the man, her husband wanted her to disrobe in front of all these drunk men. I never heard that part of the story. I just heard the part of the story. I didn't know why she was cast out or ostracized. They don't tell the whole story. I got the story that the queen before Queen Esther was insolent and didn't listen and blah, blah, blah. And now we want Queen Esther. That was the church version. When
Mm-hmm.
I read the Bible didn't say that.
Yeah, I've heard it the story told several times throughout my church years,
What
and
did they
every,
say in your church? In
um,
the church,
well, they said that she was rebellious. That's one of the words they definitely used was rebellious.
they
She didn't
love
want
to
to
use
obey.
that
Yeah,
word. Yeah, they
exactly.
love that
Like she didn't
word.
want to obey her husband. But I'm even as a small
Mm,
kid, like I'm thinking like, well, that's weird. Why would he want her to be naked in front of all these people? That makes no sense.
right.
Like little
That's
kids are so smart.
yeah. That's creepy.
Adults. Yeah, isn't it? It's really
Yes,
creepy. And it's not a good message to send to like little girls.
they should have been teaching us in church that she actually took the high road and kept her dignity and her sovereignty and said, absolutely not. I'm not going to be naked in front of your, drunk dudes.
Buddies, drunk buddies. Like I'm in a more modern sense. Like I can just picture that in a modern sense. Like, hey, yo, Sheila, come here, come show the fellas real quick. You kicking back a couple brewskis or whatever. Like, yeah, go ahead, take it off, shake it a little bit. Yeah, it's so misogynistic.
Who would do that? Who would do that? Oh no, no. I say points for Queen Vashti. I am
Yes,
definitely on Queen Vashti's side on that one. Definitely on her side. Now I loved Queen Esther too.
yeah, yeah,
They always pit them against each other, as if Queen Vashti and Queen Esther are somehow rivals. They weren't rivals. They were two
yeah,
different people.
exactly. I know. Like that's another thing I see. Like not only in church culture, but culture altogether, how they would pit women against one another. And
Mm.
that also speaks to like dress code. Like why are men dictating what we should wear, what's considered to be, classy or clean, or that's raunchy, all these different classifications pitting women against one another, when really honestly that it's about our character. You know what I'm saying? Like from the headdress, like you got to be fully covered besides just your eyes. Oh, that must be a holy person. And compared to a person that may have like a bikini on, oh, they're sinful just based on their clothing, not on their true character. You
But
see a
this
lot
is
of
the yes, and this is some of the judgment that we see in the Christian church, unfortunately. Judgments based on outer appearances, based on how people present, based on what people are wearing. There are actually now there's some churches that are very liberal, and they, you can wear different things to the church. They're liberal. I like that. A lot of Christianity very judgmental. That if you walk in with something that looks a little too
morally.
risque, oh yeah, yeah, it's gonna be a problem. It's gonna be a
Mm,
problem. You know.
yeah.
Yes, Jezebel is coming up because rebel women of the Bible. Jezebel is in that bunch.
Yes.
I cannot tell you, Minister Ashley and Love Tubers, everyone on the Christian Witches YouTube channel, the Christian Witches Facebook, the Valerie Love YouTube channel, and all of Ashley's incredible outlets where she is. You are on TikTok, you are on Instagram, have amazing, amazing content. I cannot tell you, I don't know if you've ever gotten this, Minister Ashley. You tell me. I cannot tell you how many Christian men have called me Jezebel. And every time they do, I say, thank you.
That's what
Have there
exactly I say. I say that too. I say thank you.
Thank you. Man, that's a
Thank
power
you.
woman right there. Baby.
Exactly.
That is
I
a
wrote a blog post about her. I think it was the year before last. I called her the ride or die chick because exactly, who wouldn't want a wife like that? She was willing to
baby. If you had a wife
kill.
like Jezebel,
Like, exactly, she got the job done when he couldn't get it done.
boom, boom. Okay,
Exactly.
so who we going to next? Oh, Unique Organics Hair Care. Let me see what your comment says. I was sent home for wearing a nurse uniform with pants. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that
Oh,
interesting?
holiness
Can't
church.
go
It
to
sounded like
church with
holiness.
a uniform on. I mean, it's not like it's sexy, right? Most nurses' uniforms are not sexy, yet that's just part of the judgment of how people present, right? How people present. Yes. It's interesting. Who's our next rebel woman of the Bible?
I guess we could bring up Jezebel.
So we
Since
might as well go on to get into Jezebel now because
Jezebel.
she is our number one woman villain of the Bible. Would you say she's the number one woman villain of the Bible? The
I would
way they
say
painted,
yeah.
it,
Yeah,
not
the way how
act.
they paint her. Yeah.
Would you say? I
Yeah,
think
I
so too.
agree. I agree.
And you know what I like? I like how famous church made her. Church made her very famous.
Because her story is like really short. It's really short.
Yeah,
But
yeah, it's
however, she's
a few
popular like
passages.
Eve.
That's right. That's right. It's just a few passages in the Bible,
Yeah.
yet church has made her the absolute queen of rebellion and sin, putting on the makeup and becoming super sensuous and getting into the womanly arts in order to cause men to fall into sin. You know, the men are so afraid of these women. so, so can
But
you
he
speak to
loved it
this a
though.
bit? By the way,
He,
I want to say this about men. I was walking today. I'm here in New Orleans, prepping for the Christian Witches Convention, where you will be teaching at the end of the month. Yay! So, everyone, if you have not gotten your tickets yet for the Christian Witches Convention, ticket sales end on May 15th. So, you need to quickly go and get your ticket for the Christian Witches Convention in New Orleans Memorial Day weekend. While I was walking, I'm here in New Orleans, and I was walking. And while I was walking, I was thinking to myself about all of the powerful men that I know, which I know a lot of amazing, amazing, powerful men, spiritual men, amazing men, right? They never told me that they were the boss of me. They never told me that. They never even insinuated that. They were simply powerful, confident within themselves. And they always say that if you have to tell people you're the boss, you're definitely not the boss, right? And if you have to keep telling people you're the boss, you're not the boss at all. So I think of the men that have been on the channel and that I see comment in the comments on things that I say. And you can tell a weak man from a powerful man because a weak man will say things like, that's why we don't permit women to teach because Timothy, right? Supposedly, where Paul said, which are not the words of Paul at all, but they haven't done the research to find that out, where Paul says, a woman, I don't allow a woman to teach, and I don't allow a woman to teach a man, and things like that. It is very interesting that there are weak men who use a 2,000-year-old book to prop up their manhood and attempt to prop up their manhood because they're coming from inadequacy. I've
exactly.
never seen powerful men do that.
They
Never.
don't
Have
have
you? I
to.
don't know. I'm around a lot of amazing men. I
Oh,
have never seen powerful men act that way. Powerful men to me they're confident, they know who they are, and they never have to demean anyone or try to put somebody in their place. Now, mind you, if somebody come up on them, they gonna set it right because powerful men do not allow themselves to be disrespected. Yet, I don't know, it's just different. What have you
it's
found?
different. Oh my goodness. I totally agree with you. I being that, I'm a woman and especially teach from the Bible.
Ooh,
I
teaching
think
from the Bible, baby.
exactly.
Them
He
weak
will come to you
churchmen, they
and the
don't like it.
women.
They
And
don't
the
like
women will
it.
back up. The
Like
women, they say, you whore of Babylon,
it.
with all that makeup on your face.
Look,
Exactly.
oh, thank you. And you know what
Thank
they get on
you.
me for? Oh man, they
Oh,
come for these
they love
tattoos.
those.
Oh, they come for these tattoos. They be like, oh, I can't. God said, don't get no tattoos.
That's not even what
It's
it says, honestly.
poor
But
thing. They don't know. God didn't
they
say
don't know.
nothing like that. But that's
Exactly.
what they've been brainwashed to believe. You know.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
But
Without
I
doing
love all my strong
diligence.
men out there, all my
Mhm.
strong men out there, all my, ride or dies, all my dudes, all the powerful men, love y'all. And here and there, you will see. some punk ass, weak ass men in the comments. And you can always tell them. Probably got little dicks too. That's probably the head. That's
Oh, we're
probably
gonna
not.
get to that with Lilith. We're gonna get to that with Lilith.
Oh, we got.
If you
Let's
know,
keep
you know.
when we get to Lilith, because Lilith was like, Adam, you ain't bringing it.
Yes, Adam.
I got to work this myself, Adam, because
Yeah.
like they say, it's not the size, it's the ocean in the motion. It's the motion in the ocean, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
But
so
he
we
ain't
go
had
to
no motion.
Jezebel now. And Jezebel is a really fascinating one because I read it again today. And I would encourage everyone who's listening and watching in this conversation with us, go and read the story of Jezebel without the church in your ear telling you who she was. So, what do you want to say to everyone about Jezebel?
Well, I would say, well, first of all, I think like they try to paint King Ahab as a weak-minded man, that he couldn't stand up to his woman, to his wife, put her in her place. But they don't look at it like this, that was a strong, independent woman that got the job done, that she seen her husband's desire and she fulfilled that desire. Do you understand? Like, you get what I'm saying? And to me, they seem like a power couple. In my mind, they seem like a power couple. But a lot of things that they like to say about Jezebel, one thing that you did mention was about her makeup. And that's another quality that they will demonize women about women that wear makeup. Oh, you're impure, and you got all that cake on your face, da 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 da, you're evil. But I mean, like, there's a couple things with makeup. So that is her identity connected to her deity. But in addition to that, they were in the desert. Some of their makeup was to cover their face and protect their face, but also to identify themselves and set themselves apart, being royalty. She was a dedicated
She
high
was a
priest.
queen. She was royal. She was of the
Yeah.
royal family. Yes.
And she was a dedicated high priestess to her deity, to Baal.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's
So,
in her
like,
name,
yeah.
Jezebel.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
her deed. She has a theorific name with Baal being in her name,
Yeah.
Jezebel, which indicates that she was a high priestess
Hmm.
to Baal. Mhm.
Exactly. And she was dedicated to God, though.
Mhm.
I mean, well, to her God.
Right,
And
to her God.
how many of the other biblical figures were really that dedicated? They were so dedicated, so much so that they carried it around in their name. But not only that, but they carried it around to death. They followed their deity, their God, to death.
That's exactly right.
No, it was
That's
so, yeah.
Mhm.
And so with let me go through my notes. Let me see.
And while you do that, I got to bring up a comment from Nubian King. I love this. The Black woman is God who birthed the world. We're talking Mommy Wata now. Come on, brother. Come
Yeah.
on, Nubian King. This is why he's a king. Queen Sheba was black and comely, aka black and beautiful. That's right. Song of Solomon does say,
Mhm.
I am black but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem. I love you, Nubian King. Thank you for bringing some wisdom. Thank you for this is the kind of kings I'm talking about. These are the kind of kings I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Okay. You were called a Jezebel for wearing earrings. Oh, interesting. Well, we are both in the Jezebel camp. We are
Yeah.
both in the Jezebel camp. Yes, Minister Ashley? I'm
Yes.
Queen Jezebel. I'm Team Jezebel all day. All
Yeah,
day.
exactly. And
Mhm.
they associate Jezebel with being a fast woman, but she was dedicated to her husband. You ain't see her out there flirting or, hanging out with the soldiers like, hey, come here.
Mm-mm.
I don't know where they got that association from exactly.
I think
But
they invented it. I think they made it up.
yeah, yeah, exactly. There's
Mhm.
no evidence at all about her being unfaithful. Actually, she was
Mm,
one of the most faithful women.
look at
And
that.
yeah,
I
and
love
speak.
what my aunt Kafra is saying. I am initiated to Mami Wata. Mami Wata is the ultimate. Everything came from Mami Wata, right? It's It's the divine feminine, it's the
Mhm.
womb. One time I heard something, Ashley, in my inner sanctum that said, the universe is a womb. I'm like, ooh. And I guess the seed of the divine masculine, if penetrates the divine feminine and you have
Mhm.
birth. That is amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah. And what else do you also want to say about Jezebel before we go any further? Jezebel was connected to the Queen of the Heavens. Yes, Queen of Heaven
Queen of
was
Heaven.
Inanna slash Ishtar.
When the Nubian king brought up Bathsheba, another thing that people don't really point out in the
Oh,
church is
this
about,
one, this one wasn't Bathsheba. This one was Queen of Sheba.
oh, Queen of
Yes.
Sheba. Okay,
Queen of
I
Sheba,
apologize, but
different from
The Sheba.
yes,
But,
yes, yes, yes. Queen of Sheba, they say, now Queen of Sheba, they say she was Ethiopian. And Solomon had sex with her, and they had a son, and that their son stole the Ark of the Covenant and brought it back to Ethiopia. That's where we get the lore that the Ark of the Covenant is in Ethiopia. I don't know if that's true or not, could be, but a lot of people do say that. A lot of people say that the Ark of the Covenant is in Ethiopia. And that oh, thank you so much, J7. J7 said, Miss Love, I said you are a queen, and so are your co-hosts. Peace and love. Peace and love to you as well. We are so thankful. And we are, as queens, we honor the divine masculine and the divine feminine, both men and women. So we're giving women their rightful place alongside their husbands because, like you said, Jezebel wasn't working against her husband. Jezebel was working for his aims to come true. And she was probably doing a lot of spiritual work in the
mm-hmm.
temple for him to be, for his rule and for his, what he wanted in his rulership. She wasn't working against him, she was working with him.
Exactly. Well, I would have like one other note here
Yes.
about how they demonize Jezebel, but they will not highlight King David and Bathsheba, how he, the story with Bathsheba, how he took another man's wife, and the adultery and all of that, and how they still hold King David, this man, in high regards.
They love King David.
Yeah, exactly.
They love King David. Now, supposedly King David
Yes.
never existed, but oh my goodness, the
Yeah,
church, they love King David. He can do no wrong, even though the man was doing something wrong every time you turn around. But according to the Christians, he can do no wrong. This man was a
exactly.
hellion and a warmonger and would kill people at the drop of a dime, but they love King David.
Yeah, they brushed right over Bathsheba. That's another divine feminine that suffered at the hands of a man.
Hmm.
But like, I'm not going to get too much into that. I just wanted to mention, about that. And also, King Solomon had like 1,000 wives,
Yes, King
and
Solomon.
Jezebel only had one husband.
Do the math.
Yeah.
Do the math. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Bobby Hemmett said that Jezebel is the great mother. Bobby Hemmett is nothing but the truth. Every time I
Mhm.
listen to a Bobby Hemmett video, scales just drop from your eyes. You'll all have to look up Bobby Hemmett and just listen to him because this man was absolutely tapped in to
Mhm.
absolute high level truth, occult teachings, metaphysics. Absolutely. Sunflower, as a prophet in the fivefold ministry, anytime you prophesize something that people don't agree with, you were labeled as a Jezebel. Indeed. Indeed. It is like a label, right, Minister Ashley? It's like a
Yeah.
label.
Yes.
And then they have loaded the label with meaning. So they think when they put it on you that you will accept the same meaning that they themselves made up. No, I
Mhm.
have a whole different meaning to Jezebel. Power
Exactly.
woman. That's Jezebel for me. Creatrix, high priestess,
High priestess. Yeah.
high
Yeah.
priestess. So I have a whole different paradigm of Jezebel. So when people say Jezebel, I say thank you. Because for me, she's an archetype of a powerful woman that was working with her husband, and she was a queen, and she was a priestess. Thank
Yes.
you. Yeah, thank you. Love it. Okay. Who's our next rebel woman of the Bible? Because I have five that I want to talk about. You
Oh, you
have,
want to do a couple of yours and
yes,
then back and forth?
here, family, look this one up. You will love this one. I remember first reading this story in the Bible years ago, and I said, how come no one, now when I tell you this story, family, put in the chat if you have ever heard anyone in any church talk about these five women, the five daughters of Zelophehad. Have you ever heard of the five daughters of Zelophehad? Just put it in the chat and tell us if you ever heard of the five daughters of Zelophehad. So they are in the Bible in Numbers. Is it Numbers? Let me make sure. Yeah, Numbers chapter 27. Look at my notes. Numbers chapter 27. What happened? Well, this man who had five daughters and no sons died. So because he died without a son, nope. See, nobody never heard of it. Okay, anybody else? Just let us know. Hi, Liz Maris. How you living? I've taught on those daughters several times. Love it. Sunflower Gold A. Never heard. Okay, anybody else? Tell us if you've ever heard of the five daughters of Zelophehad. Okay, so he died, and because he had no son for the inheritance of his land, he was a landowner in Israel. And because he had no son, then the inheritance was not going to pass to his five daughters. The land was going to be taken away, taken out of the family. And the five daughters went to Moses and said, excuse me, we're going to need that land. We are going to need that land. We want that land. That land belongs to our father. It stays in our family. It's the rightful inheritance, and we are going to own that land. And Moses and the priests, they had to duke it out, and these women were insistent. They were like, no, not only men get land, we are going to have that land. And do you know what happened? They got that land. Okay, they got that land. Yes, Tamara Lockhart. They always try to say that David was a man after God's own heart. They overlooked that they took that statement in the Bible and overlooked him having sex with somebody else's wife while the man is away at war fighting his war.
Hmm.
Overlooked that when he had sex with the woman's wife and the wife came with the man's wife, and the wife came back and told David, sent the message, I'm pregnant. David's like, oh shoot. Then he calls the man from the front line, calls him from the war and says, go sleep with your wife, trying to cover over. This man is diabolical.
Yeah.
David is diabolical. Then after the man comes back and he won't sleep with his wife, he won't even go into his house because it's sort of like a statement that I'm not going to go in my own house and wash and have sex with my wife and all of that and eat good food while my men are out on the field in this
He's a
war
real
with you, king. So he slept out of doors. David could not get this man to go back in his house. What did David do? David sent the man back with a message to put the man on the front lines in the war. So knowing that the man would get killed, and then David took his wife. Now, how you that man was a hellion.
Yes.
Stop it, church people. Why are the church people not reading their own book and coming to their own conclusions? This man was an adulterer, a murderer, a
Hmm.
conspirator. This man was a
And a
hellion.
coward. He was a coward, like how, um, yeah, like how it is on here. Yeah, a complete coward. Another thing too, like I seen a comment about David got his consequences, but like the child died, but the child suffered before that. So not only Bathsheba suffered the whole ordeal, but the baby suffered. And then King David went off because his son Absalom was going to, you know, him. and his 10 wives were raped on the rooftop in front of all of Israel, and so they had to be put away in a separate household. So all the women suffered.
Really gnarly story about those 10 women and those 10 women having to be put under lock and key and stayed there until they died. These are some horrible, hellacious stories. So I don't know why people think David is so wonderful. This man is horrible. The other thing, if he even existed, a lot of Bible scholars
Yeah.
say he never existed. He's like I guess you could call him like an archetype. Not an archetype I want to know anything about, not an
Yeah.
archetype that I deem to have any respect whatsoever. You know, when I was in the Catholic, the Christian experience, I wasn't in Catholic, but when I was in the Christian experience, I felt the same way about David. Oh, wow, David killed Goliath with a. I was listening to the rhetoric that
Hmm.
they said they got from the Bible. Well, when I read the Bible didn't say the thing they said on the platform. It just didn't say that. The AI is like, that's right. Read the Bible for yourself, right? And I want to go back to the whole idea of these five daughters of Zelophehad and how they were able to get their inheritance, that they fought for their inheritance and they got their inheritance. And they got their inheritance in a time where I don't know. They tell us that the women couldn't do much. But what I see in the Bible is I see a whole lot of damn women doing a whole lot of
Oh,
things.
yeah.
That's what I see when I read the Bible. I see all kinds of women do all kinds of powerful things. Do you?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I see them running the show,
I
honestly.
see
And they
them doing all kinds of
trying
things.
to cover it up with a lot of masculine energy, a lot of toxic masculine energy, let me say. They try to shield the truth about how powerful women are because they know how powerful women are. And when women know how powerful that we are and we come together in unison, like how you talked about that red tent coming together, a whole lot of magic is being worked. A whole lot of
A lot of
chains and
womb
bonds.
magic. Oh
Yes.
my goodness. The belly
Yes.
dancing. You
Mm-hmm.
know, now I'm going to look at people named David sideways. That's funny. You know, before I took belly dancing lessons, Western society makes you think that belly dancing was for men, that the women were shaking their hips and all of that for the
Yeah.
men.
Mm-hmm.
Come to find out, the origin of belly dancing was not sexual and it wasn't for men at all. Now I'm not opposed to, belly dancing with
Mm-hmm.
your man and all that. That's beautiful because men do tend to love, I'm talking about straight men. I'm not talking about men that are not into women, right? But men that are into women do tend to love, hips
Mm-hmm.
and movements of hips. It's intoxicating, it's sensual, it's euphoric. It's like an enchantment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hips are like an enchantment. So when I first began belly dancing, this was like, oh my goodness, 20 something years ago is when I went to my first belly dance. And I was in a belly dance troupe for a while. And we learned the roots of belly dancing, that it started in North Africa. Like most things started in Africa,
Mm-hmm.
right? Started in Africa. And it was the women doing hip movements with the women while men were off at war. They were doing this, that, and the other, protecting and fighting and hunting, whatever they were doing. That the women were in a it's like a circle kind of thing, like a red tent kind of environment. And some of our womanly wiles that we do when the women are getting together, like when the dudes say, oh, there go the women, the dudes know, like the dudes in our family, they're like, oh, there go the women again. When we go off into the kitchen or we go off into the back room or whatever, and we're doing our things. And
Mm-hmm.
the guys are like, I'm out. The dudes are like, I'm out of here. And they go in the back and they start drinking, they start telling stories, telling tall tales and doing the things dudes do. I don't know all the things the dudes do, right? Because they're off doing their dude thing. Well, and
Yeah.
drinking whiskey and all of that stuff. Right? Well, the women were working with sensuality. They were
Mm-hmm.
working with sexual powers working with how to seduce, working with childbearing, working with the
Mhm.
movement of hips. They say women move their hips every day. I also learned this in belly dancing. Women around the world move their hips every day except for American women. American women don't shake their hips enough. Like shake them, like shimmy and shake your hips. That's why
Yes.
there's so much cancer
Yeah.
and endometriosis
Mhm.
and fibroids, and so you ain't moving that shit around. You need to shake that up. And my belly dancing teacher used to say it was like orange juice. That if you take fresh squeezed orange juice, like straight, not this crap they sell in the stores, like you take an orange and you actually, and if you leave it on the counter for a while, you'll see that the heavier elements of the orange juice will go to the bottom and the top will be like water. Have you ever seen that? Fresh squeezed
Yeah.
orange juice kind of starts to separate a little bit,
Yeah.
and the denser parts are at the bottom. And that's what she said happens to your womb. Women, you're not shaking your hips enough. I'm sure the men will love me saying this.
Yeah.
You're not shaking your hips enough. You need to shake up that energy and keep that energy moving. And I
Mhm.
promise you that belly dancing, and that was normal and natural. Women all over the world move their hips except for American women.
And speaking to this in a modern sense, that people once again will demonize women. Now the music nowadays is too raunchy, too sexual, da da da. But in a way, I mean, I understand that, but in a way, it's bringing back the movement of the hips. When you got to twerk, when you got to throw it back a little bit, you're working those hips a little, So I'm just tying the ancient practices, how they can be brought back and modernized. Even if you do it in your shower or in your bedroom, you know, it's healthy, it's natural. I know sometimes,
Yes.
like, especially if you grew up in the church, and some people may feel timid about that, meaning like, oh, I can't really do it. But it is healthy. Like Reverend Love just pointed out, it's good for your body. It's good for your reproductive system. I mean, it helps to raise your energy and everything.
Mhm.
It's good.
I love what Nubian King said. Is this why Black women twerk, which is a form of belly dancing? Baby, I got to tell you
Mhm.
something. Yes. And wasn't we doing some twerking last year at the Christian Witches
Yes, we
Convention? Baby,
were.
that party was
Yes.
Saturday night. Oh, ho, ho,
Oh,
ho. Oh, you're going to see
oh.
some hip shaking.
Yes. Yes, you will.
Baby, we ain't that kind of spiritual community that have you acting like church. We don't do that. We are unrepressed. We are not sexually repressed. We are not repressed in we're not judgmental. We cast all that shit off when we left church because it was too repressive and it was
Mhm.
too controlling and it was too suffocating. I felt suffocated, right? It was
Exactly.
suffocating.
Yeah.
All that stuff they told you in church, don't wear a short skirt. If I want to put on a mini skirt, I do that to this day, and I'm 63 damn years old. I would put on a mini skirt right now, baby, and walk down the street and be slaying them. Oh, right now I put on mini skirts. What? Child, don't
Yes.
stop. Don't start. Don't start none, won't be none. That's what they used to say when I was growing up. I was growing up in the hood. And the dudes used to say, don't start none, won't be none. My dad and all of them, I'd be like, okay. And we look around, ain't nobody starting shit. Cause they they knew, oh, you gonna start it, I'm gonna finish it. That's how the men were that I grew up with. So I guess that's why I have the concept of
Yes,
loving strong men, powerful men, real men that fucking stand for something.
secure.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Okay, who's our next rebel vixen of the Bible? I call them vixens because I love vixens.
Ashira.
Ashira.
The
Yes.
goddess
Okay, talk about her.
Ashira. Yes. And one thing I really love about Ashira is that she's everywhere. Even to this day, they try to get rid of her. I'm gonna tell you how she's everywhere. They try to get rid of her. They try to write her out of history. They try to demonize all of that. But anytime that you see a tree, wood, staff, even our wands, it's a Shira. It's a Shira energy because she represents all things that are wood. So they try, even like if you think about the concept of a throne and what a throne was made of before, like a wooden throne, that epitome of the goddess energy. Not only just because of Asherah and wood, but the throne itself represents a woman. So when they say that the glory of God is, he's sitting on, esoterically, like a woman, like he is supported, this divine being is supported by divine feminine energy. If you look at this in a esoteric manner. She was a kind of a Canaanite goddess and the consort of Baal, or either I also read about she was a consort of Yahweh, like the storm, like she was a storm goddess and a fertility goddess. Yeah, and they tried to, write her on out, but guess what? Moses was working with her when he had that staff. That's the only way how he could work his magic. He had to use a Asherah energy.
Girl, the church ain't ready for you. The church
Yeah,
ain't
they are
ready,
not.
baby.
Man, they'll have me on a wooden stake.
Baby, they'd be
Oh, man,
burning
they have
us
me all
out
over
right
the
now if
stake.
they could.
Yes.
Not only was Asherah the wife of Baal, she was originally the wife of El. El had 70 sons. One of El's 70 sons was Baal. Baal eventually was conflated with El. And when Baal became conflated with El, now Baal had Asherah as his wife. And then the people from the south, the Midianite people who had Yahweh, the Shasu, Yahweh and his Shasu, the nomadic tribe, came northwest and brought Yahweh with them. Then Yahweh got conflated with Baal, and then Asherah was Yahweh's wife. So Asherah was three gods' wife. Now, one woman and three men. I kind of like that. But anyway, she she was married to El, she was married to Baal, and she was married to Yahweh. Because Yahweh and her Asherah is
Okay.
what you see in the Bible. Yahweh and his, not her Asherah. Yahweh and his Asherah. You see that all throughout the Bible. Yahweh and his Asherah. You didn't see Yahweh without Asherah. Yeah.
Mm.
Isn't that it?
Wow, she had three. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the other thing that I really want to stress here also about Yahweh and his persona, his personality, the way you relate to Yahweh. Do you notice that at some point Yahweh is like, this is what they teach in church too. They have a duality God, like he's Father
Mm.
God. He's very loving. He's very kind. He takes care of his children. He's like this old dude with a long gray beard in heaven, right? That's one aspect of God that they
Yeah.
teach us in church. Then they also teach us he's a jealous God, and he's a warring God, and he's an angry God, and he's going to smoke people, and he's going to send pestilence. And because originally these were two different beings. El,
That makes
the
sense.
High Father, which I believe is a reiteration of Anu, the Anunnaki. El was the
Mhm.
very wonderful, loving father, long beard, very protective of all his children. How you would want a father to be, El. And El had a wife. There was no God that didn't have a wife. So we might as well say
Yeah.
that, right? Even in African spirituality, Shango and Oya are like, right? Even in the African traditional religions, you got the gods and the goddesses. You have the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Well, when
Mhm.
you see the gods of the Bible, it was the same way. All the gods of the Bible had a consort. They all had consorts. El had a consort, Baal had a consort,
Mhm.
Yahweh had a consort. So, and it's still in the Bible. You can still read about it, Yahweh and his Asherah in the Bible. So, what we want to remember, what we want to understand about this Yahweh plastered all over everything when the Yahwists came along in the 5th and 6th centuries and began redacting the Bible to make everything Yahweh. Parts of it is talking about El, where you see Yahweh being a very wonderful father God. Parts of it is talking about Baal, who was a storm god and a war god, and Yahweh was also a warm god, war god. So when you try to put a conglomerate god together and make it all one god, that is that's going to be a problem, isn't it? It's going to be a problem because now you're going to have confusion, and people don't know who their real God is. I'm going to tell y'all something. The ultimate scam. Here's the ultimate scam. Are we ready for the ultimate scam? The ultimate scam is that the church ran on us is that God is away from you and you need the church to get to God, and that you're a sinner. That's the ultimate scam. They separated you from your source and put themselves in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
the clergy. You need us to get to God, and that you are a sinner. Biggest scam ever run on humans, all of us. Big scam. That's the biggest scam ever. Let's go on screen share. You're going to share something with us, Minister Ashley. Oh, hold on. Let me make sure that I can do. Let's go to screen share. Hold on. Entire screen. Okay, there we go. Okay, Minister Ashley, I am going to stop sharing and I'm going to let you share. Let's see. Tap down the bottom, Minister Ashley, and see that if you can share. Okay, was the cartoon character Shira named for her back in the 80s? Oh, that's a good one. I don't know. That is a good one. What can you tell us about Queen Vashti and Jezebel? They always speak poorly on those women. Yes, Fast, you just joined us. We covered them in extensive conversation earlier in this conversation. So go back and listen to the beginning of this conversation. And was the cartoon character? Oh, can you talk about Mary because she is the real Christ energy? Oh, Mary Magdalene, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, Minister Ashley, um, tell me if when you go down, if you can click screen share. So Minister Ashley is going to bring us on screen share for a moment. She has something to share with us. Family, if you do not yet have the book, The Real God is Not in the Bible, absolutely get the book. It's at valerielove.com. Let me just take a little moment to give you a station break. Let's have a little station break for just a moment. And I want you to go to valerielove.com. Oh, wait a minute. Pardon me. Pardon me. Didn't mean to turn off my camera. Okay, screen share. Can you see my screen, Minister Ashley?
Yes, I can. I
Okay, good.
actually,
So,
um, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, it's all good. Okay, so I'm going to drop the link here for you in the chat, family. Absolutely pick up the book. The Real God is Not in the Bible. This is what this series is based on. And we take the Bible step by step, and there are shocking revelations about the Bible in this book. And we go deep into it. I go deep into it in the book. And many of you, thank you, thank you, thank you for making this book a bestseller on Amazon for weeks on end. Thank you. I love that. And could you also possibly, good, Minister Ashley, she doesn't have to share her screen. I'm going to share something with you. And family, if you are a member, let me come off screen share for a moment. Hold on, stop screen share. If you are a member on the Christian Witches YouTube channel, and the Valerie Love YouTube channel, you have a gift copy of this ebook. So hop in there, get the gift copy of the ebook, read it or read portions of it, the portions that really speak to you. And please go over to Amazon and leave a review. Please, 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 please. And for all of you that have left a review, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so Minister Ashley, who's next? So we covered Queen Vashti, we covered Jezebel,
Yeah.
we covered Asherah, we covered the five daughters of Zelophehad. Who's next?
I am ready to move on to the
Oh,
Queen of
let me
Demons.
let me reply to this comment. I love this
Okay.
comment. First, even. I appreciate your point of view, host and guest, but my faith remains strong. Oh, that's good. Your faith should remain strong because we certainly are not here to take anyone's faith away. We're certainly not here to do that. So I love that your faith remains strong. Okay, Queen Ashley. Look, Queen
Yes, yes, yes.
Ashley. Continue. Who's our next rebel woman of the Bible?
Oh, Lilith, Lilith, Lilith,
Lilith.
known
Another one of
as
my
the
faves. I
queen of
must say, I got to
demons.
tell you something.
Yes,
All of these rebel women of the Bible, super compelling, super attractive, super beautiful, super the it girl, super the I want to be that girl. Okay, continue.
exactly. That girl. Yes, she is that girl. So Lilith is in some schools of thought. We wasn't taught this in traditional Sunday school that she was considered to be Adam's first wife. And the Talmud that they have her as Adam and her as one entity, like one, like a hermaphrodite. And eventually they separated. They became their own entities. And so some schools of thought would say that she is the serpent in the Garden of Eden, which I think is sexy, actually. I think that's a sexy idea. And some people believe that her and Eve, did a little something. And then some people say that she ran off with an angel because Adam wasn't handling his business.
Mm. Adam,
It's a lot done.
there was something going on with the sex wasn't right with Adam and Lilith. The sex wasn't right because that is the bottom line of the story. I don't know if Adam was really well, I mean, he's a new human. How much can we expect him to do?
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
recreated.
he was a new
Yeah.
human. We can't fault him for that. Maybe he didn't know how to use the equipment too well. I'm gonna give him a pass. I'm gonna give the new human
Or
a pass.
the new human. Another idea that I have is that, okay, so yeah, he didn't know how to please that woman,
Mhm.
that rebellious woman. So Eve was created, and I don't even know, like, in okay, so this is like an analogy here. Okay, so Adam never really learned to please Eve,
Adam never really wanted to say
possibly.
that
And she
again.
could represent that Adam possibly never learned to please Eve. So if they're the first man and the first woman, and Lilith represents the rebellious woman or the fast woman, and you take this two archetypes in society, how they would say like the docile housewife, the this people pleaser, or the pick me, that she just takes whatever is given to her, and therefore she never has experienced an orgasm,
Mm,
for example.
that
You get what I'm
is
saying? Like but yet Lilith, when you consider to be the fast one, or either probably not even fast, maybe just outspoken. She gonna get what she want. Be like, you're not doing it right. Let me do it. Let me handle it. Or let me put my leg here, and let me twist it here. She's willing to speak up, and that's why she gets what she wants. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are archetypes.
these are archetypes, and I got to tell you
Yeah.
something about this. What you're saying, Minister Ashley, that is so amazing. That supposedly Lilith would not lie under Adam during sex. Did you hear this too? That
Yeah.
when Adam and
Yeah.
Lilith had
Yeah.
sex, right? That she wasn't
Yeah.
satisfied to just lay under him, and for the new human that didn't quite know how to work it yet, you know, I mean,
Hmm.
you're his first one. Why? And he's got this thing, and everybody they probably know what to do with it, but he's not going to be an expert at it. And she's probably like, I'm not doing this. I know how to do it. And she wanted to be on top. And that's what
Hmm.
caused the thing to be like, no, supposedly. But Eve would accept, however, Adam was still, maybe she was a lot more forgiving. But now in some old versions of the story, Eve had sex with someone else. She had sex with Enki in the old versions. And then in the, I think it's in the Talmud or it is in the older Jewish writings that Eve, that Cain's father was not Adam. Eve was having sex with somebody else,
Yeah.
which aligns with the
Yeah.
Anunnaki story. Because in which it also says it in the Bible. It also says in the Bible that Eve said something different in Hebrew with regard to Cain's, how she got Cain, than she said about Abel. That Abel, in the original Hebrew, that Abel, she got Abel from being impregnated by Adam. But in the original Hebrew, she said that she got a child, she has had a man with the help of El, or like one of the Anunnaki. So if you go back to the ancient Anunnaki stories, Enki was having sex with Eve. And Enki is supposedly the serpent. Later iteration of Enki is the serpent because he was the one that liberated Eve. Because he told Eve first, this ain't this ain't what you think it is. So Enki later got translated into being the serpent and being the devil and being evil. Yet Enki was the one, him and Eve was getting it on. And he told Eve once while they was getting it on, and you probably one of their after, their soirees, and they just laying around in the garden. He was like, this ain't no garden. This is, you got to get up out of here because this is not what you think it is. That, and the serpent in the Bible told the truth, and the God lied because the serpent said that you eat the tree of knowledge of good and evil,
Mhm.
and you will surely die. And what supposedly is the knowledge of good and evil? Sex, right? Having sex. And even in the Bible, it says to know your wife is to have sex with your wife. Like knowing
Mhm.
has a deeper level of meaning. Like when you know someone, and Adam knew his
Mhm.
wife, and his wife became pregnant. That means he got married and they had sex. And
Yeah.
after they had sex, they had children. Well, in the old Anunnaki stories, Enki was the one who gave Eve, without the knowledge of the rest of the Anunnaki and without the consent of the rest of the Anunnaki. He gave Eve, him and Ninhursag, who was a chief medical officer. She was super brilliant, super brilliant. They tinkered with the genome and gave Eve and the women the ability to reproduce. And originally, they were not supposed to have the ability to reproduce. So,
So reproduce
on their own, they weren't supposed to have
um,
children.
on their own. Yeah.
Right, on their
Yeah.
own.
Without the man,
No, the way that
like
they
just
originally
women.
did it in the Anunnaki, when the Anunnaki did this, is they would, they had their own midwife, not midwives. I guess you could call it a surrogate mother. They had midwives also that they called them midwives, but they had birthing mothers. And so they would take the seed from the existing hominid that was walking around on the planet, right? Like an ape like kind of being, and they blended it with their own. So humans are a mashup of these two. Well, when they did the mashup, and like sort of like in vitro fertilization, they would implant them in Anunnaki birth mothers, like surrogate mothers, and they would carry the children
Uh-huh.
to fruition. But there were only 6 or 7 of them. So they had to wait 9 months, and then only 6 or 7 humans would be born. And then they would do it again, and only 6 or 7 humans would be born, like 6 boys and 6 girls. They had it so that they could birth boys and girls. They could choose the sex. Just like now, how they do these, designer
Yeah.
babies, you could choose the eye color and all of that. They were doing that. And so, because they could, have these children, When the children were born, they were sterile. None of these early humans could mate and have children. None of them could. But now Ninhursag said she was looking at all her birth mothers, all of her um, surrogate mothers. And she was like, well, this is going to take forever if we need a whole new workforce. Because remember, the whole reason they did this in the first place was because the Ijiji had an uprising and they rebelled. The lesser gods, they were doing too much work, all this mining, all of this. So the lesser gods rebelled, and there was a whole lot of them. So they needed to replace their whole workforce. And if they needed thousands of workers, it was going to take forever to get thousands of workers from just 6 or 7 babies being born every 9 months. That was going to take years. So Enki and Ninhursag decided that they, without consulting the council is spoken of in Psalm 82. So anyone can read this in Psalm 82. It's talking about God ruling among the council of the gods. Well, when Enki and Ninhursag tinkered again with the genes and made it so that they could mate, they had couples. They had couples with different genetics because they would have to have different couples with different genetics. Otherwise, if the gene pool is not diverse enough, they'll die out in like 5 or 6 generations, right? From being born deformed or disease and things like that. Because it would just keep degrading. Like if you marry your brother and your sister, and then they had kids and they married each other, and then they married each other, you would have a degradation of the gene pool. And then the kids would start to be born deformed, and then eventually they wouldn't be able to reproduce. So by the 5th or 6th generation, everybody would be dead. But if you have a very diverse gene pool, you have many couples, then you can support a healthy. So what Enki and Ninhursag did was they had couples that looked like Adam and Eve. It wasn't just one Adam and Eve. They had a garden, and it was like they call it Dilmun, or like the Ganed Eden, and in the Bible it's called Garden of Eden. And they had many couples in there, and they were breeding them. They were couples being bred, but they thought that they were in some kind of luscious paradise because all this fruit was growing and vegetables, and they were just luxuriating. So the Gnostics were correct when the Gnostics came on later and said, that wasn't paradise. The Gnostics were right about that. Gnostics said that was paradise. And then when the Anunnaki found out that Enki and Ninhursag, because Enki's super crafty and he was always doing his own thing. He wasn't really listening to them. When that's right, like clones, that's exactly right. When they found out, oh, they lost it. They got so upset that now these people can reproduce on their own because it gave them a level of autonomy that the Anunnaki did not want them to have. That now you can just reproduce and make as many as you want. They were no longer in control of breeding. They called it breeding, right? Well, these couples that were in this garden, Enki liked one of them. And that's where the whole Adam and Eve story comes. The Adam and Eve story is super ancient. It's way older than the Bible. It comes from ancient Sumer. So, so the way the story is still in the Bible, you can still read the threads of it, that Eve got Cain from a different place than she got Adam. And someone said in the comment, and Seth and Abel were from Adam. Cain was not. Did I just say a lot of crazy shit that people are like, oh my God?
I like that. It reminds me of a really good sci-fi movie. I like sci-fi.
Oh my God. This story.
They need to make this into a movie.
Oh my goodness. I would love to see movies about it. This story is absolutely so shocking. So when Enki told Eve, he was boinking Eve, and that's where Cain came from. And when he told Eve, you're not in a paradise, and you need to, this ain't what you think it is. He opened her eyes, and it says it in the Bible.
Mhm.
The woman's eyes were
Yeah.
opened, and she realized that they were naked. That means that she had sex, and then shame came and all this other things because she didn't know anything about that when they were first created, right? None of them knew anything about sex when they
Yeah.
first were created. They were like brand new humans. And then they got taught all of those things. And it was good. And here we are today. We're still having sex. Yay. It's wonderful. So, who's our next? They love a whole lot of shit. That's a good one, Unique Organics Hair Care. I love this. They love a whole lot of shit out of Genesis. Yes, they did.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Genesis. Where is it? This is an excellent question. Where's the literature to prove this? In the book, I give you all the resources. And I'll show you. This is an excellent question. Let me give you some resources right now. I'm going to pull up, if we go to Amazon, hold on, I'm going to show you something right now that will help everyone here. Hopefully everyone here. Hold on. Let me pull up screen share. And this will help everyone because this is an excellent question. Like, where are you getting your information from? So you can see my screen. If you go to valerielove.com/books, you can see my screen.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And actually, if you go to valerielove.com/shop, go there, valerielove.com/shop, you're going to shop our Amazon store. Now, when you go to my Amazon store, you are going to see that you can resources. And right here, you see resources, Elohim and humanity's origins. Any or all of these books, The Invention of God, The Origins of Biblical Monotheism, The Ethiopian Bible, Gods of the Bible, this is extraordinary. The Origin of Satan, When God Had a Wife, The Naked Bible. Just read. That's all. Just read. And you will be, this one was shocking. When I read the Spaceships of Ezekiel, I was dumbfounded. This man, Joseph Bloombrick, these books are readily available, family. Just read. That's all you got to do. Just read. Let me share this with y'all because this will clear up a lot of misunderstanding. Just read. I promise you. Just read. Just read these books and you come back and you tell me what you think. Now, when we go over here to the Naked Bible, the truth about the most famous book, The Naked Bible by Mauro Biglino. Mauro Biglino is a Hebrew scholar who translated the Hebrew Bible for a Vatican approved press. This man was making transliterations for a Vatican approved press so that they could give it to the Vatican. This man wasn't no schlump. This book right here will make your eyes pop out because Joseph Bloomrick, who is he? Who is Joseph Bloomrick? Joseph Bloomrick was a NASA engineer who got a patent. He secured a patent for the spaceship that Ezekiel described. It's called Ezekiel's spaceship. And people try to say spaceships are not in the Bible. Well, tell this to the, and he wrote the book about it. I said, I have to read this book. I have to read this book. This man, chief of NASA systems layout at the Marshall Space Flight Center, this man rebuilt he analyzed 6 different translations of the Bible in conjunction with his experience in engineering and presents one possible version of Ezekiel's visions of how God, described as riding an elaborate vehicle capable of seeing, supposedly showed him the future and gave him various messages to deliver. And what he said was that it was a spaceship. And he procured a patent, kid you not, for the spaceship in the book of Ezekiel. Kid you not. Okay? It's an excellent question. It's an excellent question. The Bible's not from God at all. The Bible's not about God. It's not from God. Okay, it says, if the Bible is not true, then how are the books written about the Bible considered true and accurate? That's an excellent question. This is a very good question. Now, we must understand what the Bible is. So the Bible is a collection of literature. And how do we know that? Because in the 1800s, they actually don't even talk about this much in church at all. They actually found the library of Ashurbanipal in Nineveh. And this is in modern day Iraq, in that area. And in Ashurbanipal's library, they found ancient cuneiform tablets. I actually saw one when I went to the British Museum, because I travel all over the world researching this. When they went and saw these cuneiform tablets, they had the same stories that were in the Bible, yet they were thousands of years older than the Bible. So the Bible, yeah, it's literature. Yeah, it's definitely literature. And look, family, I don't seek to convince anyone of anything. I don't seek to change anyone's mind. I don't seek to argue or debate. I'm letting you know my findings, and I give you all the resources from my
The
findings.
tools.
And all you do is you go and research it for yourself. So here's what I will say about that question. If the Bible is not true, then how are the books written about the Bible considered true and accurate? Is an excellent question. This is a very good question. I didn't say that the Bible wasn't true. I never said that. I said the Bible's not from God. There's a big difference. It's not from God. It's not about God. It's not inspired by God. It's not a God book. It's not a holy book. It's not a sacred book. It doesn't have any inherent meaning. The Bible is whatever you want it to be. So I have a huge collection of Bibles because I love the Bible, the archetypes, the stories, the astrology, the metaphor, the allegory, the just all of it. Kings and
Magic.
queens. Isn't it like one of the most fascinating collections of literature ever in existence? The
Yeah.
magic, the occult teachings. The Bible,
The
the
scandals.
scandals, the wars, the famines, the pestilences, the talking animals. it's, it's better than Lord of the Rings, baby. It just is not from God. It just isn't. And I cannot convince anyone that it's not from God. And that's not my job. I can't do that for you. I came to my own conclusions after decades of study and research and of study, deep study, meditation, traveling to ancient cities and sites all over the world. I came to my own conclusions and I share my findings. But never do I share my findings in an attempt to change your mind because I think too much of you to seek to change your mind. I say, you go and do the research yourself and you tell us what your conclusions are, right? Just like me and Minister Ashley, we can have discussion. We don't have to agree on every single thing from the Bible. She shares what she learned, I share what I learned, she shares her conclusions, I share my conclusions. It's beautiful. It's a discussion we're having. Why do people think that somebody's got to be right and somebody's got to be wrong? Why do people think that everybody has to think the same way? We don't. You know,
Mhm.
but religion
Be born with.
poisoned our minds to that shit. Religion is the problem.
Mhm.
Poisoned our minds. Okay, let's look at these. What are your thoughts, Queen Ashley? I keep calling you Queen Ashley because you have the most fabulous headdress on. So you're just gonna be Queen Ashley.
Thank
It's
you.
okay.
I'll take that. I'll take that for sure. My thoughts about the question
Yeah, what are your thoughts about like,
that,
how do you look at the Bible? Because you have a Bible ministry that is very unconventional. The way you teach the Bible, and yet all your stuff is from the Bible, pretty much. Like you love the Bible like I do, I think. And we grew up on the
yeah,
Bible. What are your thoughts? What conclusions have you come to about the Bible?
I what I think the Bible is. Well, first, let me back up and say, like the central figure of the Bible, the way how I interpret the Bible. One is several different ways. Okay, so one way with the Old Testament and New Testament and the duality in the Bible, I think of it as the universal principles. That's the way how I read the Bible. So like the law of polarity, you see the contrast between the judgmental, harsh God, and then the very docile, forgiving God. I look at it as the law of polarity, and I can see the universal laws in the Bible. I also look at it through the filter of magic, of course, and the divinatory practices. It so much so that I even wrote a book about it, the Bible's hidden divination and magic. And I see the Bible like the central figure, what they say, Jesus. Or Christ. I more so resonate with the name Christ. I look at Christ as a frequency, as a mindset, as a filter, and as a hero's journey that we can drop our identity into and take on those attributes for to overcome the obstacles in our life. If Jesus was the hero of his journey, we could be the hero of our own journey. I mean, you could look at it through the filter of herbalism, like from the New Testament and Old Testament. You could take the Bible when you like really decode it and research it. You could put it through any filter, in my personal opinion, from science, poetry,
Mm.
art, music, women. When you really do the research and you really get down to the names and the etymology, a lot of women are represented, but their names have been changed in the Bible to masculine names, or either they're encoded, and you realize that they have more power than what we have been taught that they have. So I look at the Bible through so many filters. That's why I'm writing so many books about it through different lenses. Um, what book was that? Oh, it's my latest book. I'm working on another one about the women and goddesses of the Bible,
We should bring it
and
up.
that one's
We
going to
should bring up
be.
your book. Let me do that right now. Hold
Oh,
on, so you all can see
okay, put it
Ministar
on the camera.
Ashley's work because it's just freaking amazing. And she's also
This
on
book,
TikTok. You have a large following on TikTok, don't you?
it's at 11K right
That's
now.
awesome. That is awesome. Okay,
Yeah,
on
I'm working good.
Amazon, tell me the name of your book.
The Bible's hidden divination and magic.
There it is. Probably because I pulled it up before. Boom. Let's put the link in the chat. And I'm going to drop the link right now in the chat for Minister Ashley's book. Because, family, this is the bottom line of it. You got to make up your own mind. You can't rely on what they told you in church. I do know that for sure. And that is an affiliate link. And if you would be so kind, I do have to make that declaration. If you would be so kind to, let me come off screen share. If you would be so kind as to use my link for Minister Ashley's book, that would be amazing. Thank you. That is an affiliate link. Just to let you know, it's an affiliate link. I do earn commissions. I have to say that for Amazon. I do earn commissions if you buy the book. Yay. Super chat. Sorry I'm late. We'll watch on repeat. Heart, thank you for your knowledge and wisdom. Yay. Money in the
Uh, I have to snap. My bell is downstairs.
vortex. We love that. We love that. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Um, yes. Okay. You will not pass English without a thesaurus. Why not? One, your ancestors were denied. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Nubian King said something really interesting too. Let me look at what he said. I really like that comment about Ezekiel. Let's see. Uh, there's quite a few comments here. I'm looking to get that one. It was something about the Anunnaki. Here it is, Ezekiel. Here it is, Ezekiel. Ezekiel saw the wheel away in the middle of the air. It was a wheel in the center of a wheel, aka flying saucer. The flying saucer, helicopter, and airplane are on the pyramids. We invented everything. Absolutely, it's right in the Bible. But no, he said it's a wheel within a wheel. NASA has an omnidirectional wheel, and Ezekiel told us that it went, or whoever wrote the book of Ezekiel, right? It's in what we would call Ezekiel, is in that part of the Bible. It said that the chariot, the vessel, was able to move without turning around and changing directions. Like it could go south and then go west and then go east and then go north without turning around because it was a wheel in a wheel. That is all in the Bible. Spaceships, they're all in the Bible. It's right there. Yes. Oh, I love this unique organics. Hair care. Since Val explained it as a book of literature, I understand it better. I love the Bible so much more now that I know it didn't come from God.
In here.
Oh my God, I love the Bible so much more. Why do we refuse Genesis 1:28, the first time God and spoke to her seed, fruit, son, fathers? Genesis 1:28 is not from God, beloved. And if you do the research on it, you'll find out that it's not from God. Yay, Joanne! Money in the vortex! I love that. I love the 3333. Oh my God, I love the 3333. That is amazing. And here's the other thing, family. No one has to believe anything me and Minister Ashley are saying because spirituality is not about belief, religion is. I'm going to say that again.
Mm-hmm.
Spirituality is not about belief, spirituality is about experience. You got to have your own experience. Religion is about belief. You got to believe. Just believe. Believe Jesus is your Lord and Savior. Believe he died on the cross. Believe he died for you. That's not spirituality. That's not metaphysics. That's not magic, metaphysics, ATRs. None of that goes on belief. Witchcraft, none of it goes on belief. Spirituality is an experiential path. It's not a path of belief. Those are two different things we're talking about. Yes? Minister Ashley?
Exactly. I agree.
It's different. How are we going to wrap up? Which woman are we going to wrap up with? Do we have a rebel woman that we're wrapping up with here?
Well, she was my Lilith was my last woman.
Lilith is your last.
But I want to say something about Delilah, though. One thing about Delilah.
Ooh.
Oh, Delilah. I have a section I actually have two sections about women in this book.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one is about the magic and divinatory practices of women in the book, in the Bible. And Delilah was one of them, a head worker. She was a head worker. She worked Samson's head, not only with her words and her essence, her divine feminine energy, but she literally worked his head. You know how they say head workers,
Yes.
like her oils and massaging his head and everything.
Yes.
And who knows? We don't know if she actually had intercourse with him. She could have worked his head so good, she didn't even have to do anything else.
And we don't know which head is talking about.
I was not thinking to say that.
It could be a code.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So women are magical anyway, but you'll be surprised, especially when I write this second book, how many magical practices that all of the women, the archetypes of the women that are represented in the Bible, with the techniques that they were used. You have Queen Esther. I believe she used sensual, not necessarily sex magic, if I could say, well, sex magic. I don't know if I can say that exact word on a live, but I'm not sure if she used that, but she used her sensual energy.
Yeah.
She spent a whole year, like, was it like 6 months to a year, just being bathed in body oils to soak up the smell and the essence, but change her chemistry. Mm-hmm. That's magic.
That is magic. She was absolutely doing
her glamour magic.
Glamour magic. Yes. She was absolutely doing glamour magic. Yeah. And these women, before they would go in to see powerful men, a lot of them, you read many of them, they would get the whole bath, the oils. They're like, okay, I got a job to do. So we're talking womanly wiles here. We're not talking the man's going to come in with the spear, the javelin, the bow and arrow, and just kill everybody. The woman is taking a different approach. You know, the man is just going to shut it down. Like, it's a problem, it's going to be shut down. The women are taking a different approach. They're getting very beautified. They're having their hair. They're putting on the makeup, making the makeup from sometimes from not even really from the earth. Like they found ways to make lip paint
Yes.
from sand. Well, it's not sand, like the red earth, like a clay earth, and they can make lip paints
Play.
from
Yeah.
them. They could take certain stones, mash them down, and make blues and greens and put it on the eyes and all of that, right? So these women, they were very skilled in the womanly wiles of working how they were going to get what they were working for. And you do see that a lot in the Bible, that first the woman would go and do all the things and then go inside with the man.
Yes.
Esther did that. She did that for months. She was working on that king. And he was like, oh,
Yes, she
baby,
was.
whatever you want.
Yes, exactly.
He was like, "You
Had
looking
him
so
in the
good and
palm of her
smelling so
hand.
good. Yeah, I'll save your people. Give me
Smelling
that
so good.
paper and let me write out this little royal decree for this woman. This woman is beautiful."
Yes.
Baby. Yes, yes, it was working. They were working the magic, and the magic was magicking. Okay, it was working. Oh, Delilah was a great mother. I love that.
Yes.
Another woman that I want to end with, or a group of women that I want to end with, I want to pay homage to the incredible women around Jesus, Yeshua ben Joseph, right? The
Yeah.
women
Mhm.
who were around him funding his ministry. Mary Magdalene never was a prostitute. She was never a sex worker. She was,
Exactly.
now there's nothing wrong with sex workers. It's just that she was never a sex worker.
Mhm.
A pope said she was a sex worker. And later on, the Catholic Church did recant and apologize for saying that Mary Magdalene was a sex worker. And then they elevated her to having a feast day. They elevated her to being a saint. Well, Mary Magdalene, a very rich woman, a very wealthy woman. That is well known that this was a wealthy woman who helped fund his ministry. Mary Magdalene, Salome, the other Mary. Who else was with him?
Mhm.
There were a cadre of women around him that are spoken of often in the Bible, who were orchestrators. They got money, they took care of housing, and because these people were walking from place to place to place, on roads, going long distances, and the women held it down with the logistics and the funding. Jesus ain't had no money. Baby, Jesus might have came through
Yeah.
life,
And Mary Magdalene,
but Jesus ain't had no
before that was his sugar mama.
Mary was Jesus' sugar mama.
Yeah.
Jesus
Yeah.
did not have
It's I
money.
forgot the exact Hebrew word.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And
It's just exactly oh, sorry, go ahead.
mhm.
Oh no, you go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
I was going to say, and Jesus did not have money because he was some poor bum. Jesus didn't have money because Jesus didn't care about money. He didn't care about money.
Hmm.
Jesus did not care about money. Jesus was on a whole nother tip, right? Jesus could even do without food. Jesus wasn't on this earthly
Yeah.
plane acting like we do. You got to get money so you can get to it. He wasn't doing that. And if he wanted food, he would just say, make some food for the people, give thanks, and multiply the food. Like Jesus was on a whole different tip. But the women were like, we do have to buy some flour to make the bread. And we ain't all Jesus yet. So I can't just make some flour, baby. I would love to do it. Martha and Mary was in there working. We ain't got the Jesus powers yet. I'm working on getting my Jesus powers of instantaneous manifestation. But until then, I need some money to go to the market and buy a hog. I need to
Right.
buy a goat, and some olive oil, and some flour, okay, and some barley so we can make some bread and some wine. Oh my goodness. So yes,
That party
we
started.
love all the women. We love the women. Oh my God, we love the
Yeah.
women. So I guess the bottom line of this conversation is, family, don't believe everything they told you in church about these power women. Don't believe that. Make up your own mind and read the Bible without the filter of the church. If you just read the Bible, see, this is why most Christians believe what they hear in church, and they believe the church's rendition of what they think the Bible is saying. They believe someone else's meaning for the Bible rather than just reading the Bible for themselves. And if you just read the Bible for yourself, you see that the Bible has no inherent meaning. Dr. Joel Baden, he teaches at at Yale University. He is, listen to this, family. This is a professor at Yale Divinity School. Okay. He teaches pastors how to be pastors. Yale Divinity School. Dr. Joel Baden, Professor Joel Baden, I quote him often in the book. He says the Bible has no inherent meaning. It doesn't have one set meaning, just like what you were saying, Ashley. You found the same thing. He says this man is a Jewish man, a man that is a Hebrew scholar. It's an error. Y'all know how crazy I am. If I was back in them days, I would have been like, Jesus, can you give me some of them instant manifestation powers? Or do I actually have to bake this bread? That's what I would say. Jesus, I wanna sit here and listen to you, but we hungry. Can we? I know you're not hungry, Jesus. You don't never get hungry, but we hungry. We've been here 7 hours. Listening to this sermon on the I mean, Jesus is good, but the people got to eat something. That's what they were saying to him because he was just going, talking and whatnot. They were like, excuse me. Anybody else? I wonder who was the person that put the little finger up like we are in church. Excuse me.
Yeah, the little one first finger. Yeah.
We've been on the side of this mountain for 7 hours.
Nonstop.
It's the desert. Nonstop. Oh my goodness, that's why I didn't live in the Bible times. I would have been causing too much of a ruckus. What do you want to say to the people before we close up? Ashley, that's
well, thank you for having me. This was fun. I had a lot of fun.
Yes.
I do have a series. I'm sorry?
Continue.
I have a series that I'm working on now about women and goddesses of the Bible that will accompany the book. And the book is due to release on my mother's birthday, which is September 3rd of this year. That will be the ebook. So you can pre-order the ebook.
You can pre-order the book right now.
And that's
we're going to put a link in the chat. A link. Do you have a link right now, or I'll just put it in the description below? Buy the book.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. Okay. I don't have it like right here with me.
Good.
Yeah. So I will have a video series about the women and goddesses of the Bible, and each segment will be like a different topic or either deep diving into another woman or goddess of the Bible.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Ashley, where can everyone find you on Instagram and TikTok and all the places? Because you do so much amazing work.
Thank you. Thank you. I have 2 YouTube channels. The first one is FD 1111 Ministries, and the second one is the School of Biblical Divination and Magic. My TikTok and Instagram are both FD 1111 Ministries. Mm-hmm. And I have an Etsy shop, the biblical company.
FD, I'm going to put it in right now. FD 1111 Ministries. That's what you want to look for. Okay. I have learned so much so far. I can't get enough. I love it. I love it, family. And you want to know something interesting? A lot of things that I talk about, your pastor knows, but your pastor would never tell you. Your pastor knows everything.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
They learned it in divinity.
That is so so true. That's why I respect all people mutually, but I've lost a lot of respect for like clergy. I still will be courteous to them. Sure. I'm not going to be rude.
Respectful. Absolutely.
But yeah. But I'm like, how do you not know? How do you learn this? And then you still can get up in the pulpit and spew a lot of this falsity,
because it's what
and have
hear.
People stuck.
Tell people the truth, they'll run. The church be empty.
Yeah, and exactly that. Which I think the church should be empty anyway. In my personal opinion, really the women are the church. We are the temple. We are the womb, and it's a mimic of divine feminine energy. It's a mimic of women. To be completely honest, and to be completely honest too, some people may hate me for saying this, but I don't care.
Yeah.
That Jesus is a replica of what women do every month, like on the cross, bleeding blood. Da, 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 da. Anyway, before I go off on another tangent, and we'll be here another 2 hours, because I like talking about this type of stuff. I could just go on and on and on.
Nubian King says, how can I hold on? Nubian King says, how can I reach or listen to Minister Ashley? I love her spirit. Yes, she is FD 1111 Ministries right here on YouTube. Oh, she puts it down. She puts it down on Instagram. You got a large following too on Instagram, don't you? Is that your largest audience? Is on Instagram? Would you say?
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a 46K, 46, 45 ish.
Yes, she kills it.
As I continue to, I tick some people off, and so they have to leave. So
Yeah.
it's okay.
She
It's
kills
okay
it on
because I'm not going to.
Instagram. Oh my goodness. Every time I see one of your videos, I see a lot of your videos also on TikTok. So TikTok and Instagram, find her. You will love her. And it's going to be linked below in the description as well. So yay. Thank you so much, Minister Ashley, for being here, family. Thank you so much. We're here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time with this series, The Real God is Not in the Bible. This gives you the opportunity to look at the Bible a different way and to use the Bible as a power book that it is. It's full of literature. It's amazing. It's a book of literature. It's just not from God. And we have been scammed. We have been duped. We have been lied to. And it is time that we awaken. I love you. Thank you, Minister.